Happy Friday everyone, and welcome to a on-the-road edition of WatchGuard Security Week in Review, a video podcast dedicated to quickly summarizing the biggest information and network security stories each week. I'm your host and security aficionado Corey Nachreiner, and this is the episode for the week starting April 8th, 2013. I'm traveling for business this week in Singapore, so I need to make this episode very quickly and will only share some basic details. If you want more information about any of these stories, be sure to check out the details on our WatchGuard Security Center blog. Let me start with a quick Bitcoin story. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer open source currency that's currently getting a lot of attention. This week, one of our partners, CISSP, released details about a new Bitcoin mining Trojan. Basically, you might receive a message in Skype. It might say, "This is my favorite picture of you," or something like this. The message will also contain a shortened link. If you click on that link, it tries to install malware on your computer, a typical downloader that installs a bunch of files. But among that malware is a Bitcoin mining Trojan. This is a Trojan that will turn your computer into a Bitcoin mining resource, which is one of the ways Bitcoin creates new currency. So the attackers are using this Trojan to try to monetize their attack on many victim computers. This sort of Bitcoin malware is becoming more popular lately. There's other reports of another Trojan called Zero Access, which also does Bitcoin mining as well. So just be aware of this particular malware. My next story is CISSP is back. CISSP stands for the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act, and it's an act that failed to pass last year through the U.S. Congress. This week, the U.S. House of Representatives came together and looked at the bill and added some new amendments and okayed the bill to go through the lawmaking process. Now, there's not that many changes to the bill, though. This is a bill that tries to allow private companies share some security intelligence with the government. And many privacy advocates think there's too many privacy violations in this bill. Apparently, the White House has piped in and said in its current form, they would not ratify or pass this particular bill. If you're interested in cyber legislation or my prediction that I expect the US government to pass some sort of cyber law this year, you should pay attention to this story to see whether or not CISSP passes. Let's move on to a couple game-related security stories. The first again comes from our partner Kaspersky. Kaspersky found a cybercrime gang that's known as the Winty Gang had actually been doing a long-term campaign against game developers. They found that over the past 4 years, the cyber gang has tried to infiltrate over 35 different developers. And they're doing things like trying to steal source code for the games or the digital certificates these companies use to sign their code. And this is very valuable to these attackers. First of all, the source code they can use to help them pirate the particular game and make money off piracy, or they can also use it to find vulnerabilities in the game they can use to make hacks for the game, or leverage it to steal a lot of virtual currency, which they might be able to turn into real money as well. So this is a very interesting long-term targeted attack campaign, and it's very similar to the types of campaigns that we've been calling advanced persistent threats. Only those particular attack campaigns seem to go after government or big organizations, so it's interesting to see cyber criminals are also targeting smaller companies as well with these sorts of attacks. Now the good news is our partners like Kaspersky have developed signatures to find the malware associated with this particular attack campaign. So we can detect it if you have one of our WatchGuard security appliances. I did want to quickly share one other game-related story. Uplay is Ubisoft's digital software download mechanism. It allows you to buy digital copies of games online. This week, researchers found a Russian forum, a Russian crime forum, had a hack against Uplay. It essentially could trick Uplay into thinking you own copies of a game so you could download it. And attackers have been using this to download many free games from Ubisoft. So all this goes to show that attackers are targeting games as well in their attacks. Games seem to be very profitable as far as selling digital currency or for piracy. So if you're a game company out there, you definitely want to invest in cybersecurity. So let me end with what I think is the most interesting story of the week. It's about a researcher showing how to hack an aircraft with the Android mobile phone. At this year's Hack in the Box security conference in Amsterdam, a researcher named Hugo Tesso showed how he created an Android exploit kit that could essentially take over the navigation controls of an airplane. I won't go into a ton of detail, but basically Hugo is both a pilot and a security researcher, and he found many of the mechanisms planes use to communicate with the ground and to also share navigational data didn't use any sort of security or encryption. And he created a framework he called Simon, as well as an Android app called PlaneSploit, which he could use to then essentially send false data to the navigational controls and even control the plane using the gyroscopic sensor in an Android device. Now, to demonstrate this, he didn't actually hack a plane. Instead, he had a plane simulator hooked up to some of the gear you might find in a real plane and showed how he could hack that. Anyways, if you're interested in the details of this research, I'll make sure to post a link to his presentation in the WatchGuard Security Center blog post associated with this video. So the good news is, in all these attacks that took over controls, they really only took over automated systems. So if you have a real human pilot there, he could always override these systems. But nonetheless, it still is a very, very scary hack. And it's more evidence that bad guys are going after more than just traditional computer systems. Digital attacks can have an effect on the physical world. In fact, one of the predictions I made this year, which I really hope doesn't come true, is that a cyber attack could result in a human death. And this is a great example of how that might happen. There are many control systems in planes, soon to be in cars, and in railroad systems, and critical infrastructure, that cyber attacks could result in real physical repercussions and damage, including perhaps human death. So we really need to make sure to secure all our computing systems, even the non-obvious ones. So that's it for this week's quick episode. Since I had to keep it so quick, if you want more details on any of these stories, be sure to check the WatchGuard Security Center post associated with this video, as I'll have a reference section with a lot of links. Meanwhile, you should also follow WatchGuard Security Center regularly, as we have a bunch of security updates and alerts on that particular blog. You can also follow me on Twitter, I'm at SecAdept, or follow WatchGuard at WatchGuard Tech. As always, thank you for watching, and here at WatchGuard, we're rooting for you.